Okay, guys, let's get into it. So I've been asked to do this birth chart, so I would look into it, and this person has been really pivotal online news, all the places, and they had some fated events, karmic destiny, which activated, triggered their birth chart. Really good to secondly look into, actually, to make a sense of the sky and see whatever happens in the sky. Obviously, always correlates to your particular birth chart and how it works. And I love to look at people who are in the public domain, because we can learn from their birth charts to show you what's happening in the sky. Always has a direct impact to your personal planet in your birth chart. And so I'm talking about, of course, do we still call him Prince? It's just Andrew. Talking about Andrew, who was arrested on his birthday, on his solar return, right? So, yeah, so on his birthday, he was arrested, and prior to his birthday, a couple of days before his birthday, there was actually an eclipse in Aquarius and in Leo, and really important for him, because first of all, the eclipse cycle started in Aquarius literally this week, right? And so this is going to be, the eclipse cycles change every 18 months. The effects of the eclipse is always felt, a few weeks before, or up to 6 months before, and up to 3 years after. The huge ramifications, because the eclipses bring fated events, portals of change, plot twist, redirection, karmic destiny, and really telling for this particular person, because Aquarius and Leo is the axis which rules his first house and seventh house. These are the angular houses in astrology, and the first house is your ascendant, your rising sign. This is your avatar while you're here. This is your projection onto everybody else, what people see you as. And so he's a Leo rising. The South Node is going to go through Leo. So this is not to say that every Leo is going to get arrested. Of course not. The South Node, is about losses, letting go of, and stripping away of. And the South Node hasn't even entered Leo officially yet. That happens later on in the year. But the eclipse cycle has started. The eclipse is actually in the signs of Virgo and Pisces right now. And so for him, that's his second and eighth house. And, really not funnily enough at all, but the phrase, funnily enough, if the South Node strips away and it's about letting go of, well, he's been stripped of his title, right? And the first house is your title. It's what you're known for. It's who you are, right? And so the South Node is taking it away. It strips, it loses, it gets rid of it. The South Node in astrology is the serpent's tail. It excretes, right? It's called Ketu. So we have Rahu and Ketu. I think I've done a video on this actually in my earlier videos when I talk about Rahu and Ketu. I might redo the Rahu Ketu video if you don't know the astrology behind it, the mythology. Rahu and Ketu mythology, the dragon, the serpent's head and serpent's tail in astrology, derived from Vedic astrology, from when the gods punished and severed the snake in two. It was one of the demons who tried to drink the elixir of life and thus became immortal. I mean, the gods and goddesses are supposed to drink the elixir of life. I say it's really blasé, because I've said the story so many times, but actually it's really deep. The gods and goddesses. I forget I need to find the correct name for the demon. He tried to fool the gods and drank from the ocean of immortality, which is being churned by Vishnu, I believe. I need to find out the story again. It's been a while. I have the book on it. I want to reread it so we can repost the story for you guys. But yeah, so we have the ecliptic points in the eclipse, Rahu and Ketu. The North Node, Rahu, in modern astrology, modern day Western astrology, they call it, the North Node, the ego, what you're here for, your karmic purpose, the insatiable desire, the dragon's head, right? And the North Node, his North Node is in Aquarius, in the 7th house of relationship, actually. And so he has an insatiable appetite for partners, devouring them literally, without going too much into this on this channel, I will look at it. I will talk about his birth. I mean, I was just going to talk about the fated events that happened in the eclipse. I will, while I have his chart in front of me, I will look at it and we'll talk about it. I think it's interesting. Um, and so the South Node is going through his birth house. It's where's his natal? Let's have a look. Yeah, so actually, you know what? It's so funny. He's having so his north node is in Virgo, right? The south node is currently in Virgo. It's transiting through the second house. So he's having like he's not having a nodal return. He's having a half nodal return. So the nodal, that's when the nodes are reversed. But it's still really pivotal because when the nodes touch, and many of the nodes touch your personal planets or your own nodes as well, especially a nodal return or a half nodal return, those years are really pivotal. I had my, so you have your nodal return every 19 years or every 8.5 years, right? Is when you have your half nodal return. So those years are really important. And then my first nodal return, 8.5 years old, we moved house. My first nodal return, I had a really important relationship and which changed my life, as well as starting a new career, which again changed my life too. Because I've gone from having no career to actually having a career, and that career I spanned for like a decade, and I made so much money. It was like karmic destiny how I got that job as well, because I met somebody he kind of had no experience in this job whatsoever, literally none at all, and yet. I landed this job, got paid loads of money for it, and it changed my life. And I became really well known in my career for it. I don't do that job anymore because I had another return which changed my direct trajectory. But you can see what I'm talking about. So whenever you have like a nodal return or half nodal return, those years are really pivotal. And so for him, he's having a half nodal return, the south node is touching his north node. So his north node is in the second house of Virgo, and so the north node in Virgo in the second house, this is a wealth indicator as well. So the north node in the second house this is a huge wealth indicator, right? Because it falls in the second house. However, the south node is going through the second house. So when the south node goes through the second house, it's like this kind of like it strips away wealth, it strips away your money, it strips away your work, it strips away your job. So Leo risings out there, you may have been going through like transitional periods where you might let go of assets, you may have redefined what wealth means to you. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your job or lose everything because you're Leo rising. It can also play in other ways too. I know people who like this transit who redefine they've let go of careers no longer serving them, and they're like, this doesn't align with me anymore, so I'm going to do this career instead. I'm going to fulfill my life purpose in this way instead. You know what I mean? And so for him, for the North Node in second house, obviously this is. And his North Node, let's have a look. It doesn't conjunct to Pluto, but it does have Pluto in the second house, right? And his Pluto, I'm just looking at my Venus, because I usually find, no, actually, no. Sometimes when people have Pluto conjunct Venus or any Pluto Venus aspects, they are like make huge amounts of money, but he doesn't have that, and actually he doesn't have the money either now, does he? I suppose he'll lose assets, so he doesn't have that Pluto Venus story. But obviously, people who are millionaires or billionaires or trillionaires, they have Pluto Venus conjunctions, right? Or squares, oppositions, something with Pluto and Venus together, right? He doesn't have that at all. So that in itself is quite telling. So he's not here to live that wealth story. But Leo rising, this is someone. Leo rising people can be of royal descent. Leo is the royal descent, and his ruler, the sun, is in the seventh house, right? Actually, sorry, it's in the eighth house. I didn't change the chart. I didn't have time to do it. But in whole sign astrology, his sun is actually in the eighth house. That's in the eighth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, his sun is in the eighth house, 0 degrees, in the eighth house of Pisces. And this week we've had Saturn going to the eighth house. Sorry, Saturn going to Pisces. Sorry, no, we haven't. What am I talking about? This week we have had Saturn go into Aries, right? And Neptune's there as well, dissolving at 0 degrees in the ninth house, right? This is all tied in with, and why I mention the ninth house, this is all to do with legalities and the law, right? And to do with, the ninth house is to do with the law courts, interact courts, etc., etc. And he's got Saturn there. Saturn is about restriction. Saturn is blockages. Saturn is about karmic destiny and Saturn literally in prison. Do you know what I mean? And so on his birthday, on Saturn return, we had the eclipses happening at 28 degrees of Aquarius, and he has his natal Chiron there, right? Chiron is your deepest wounds, right? Pain points. Okay, the eclipse happening at 28 degrees conjunct his Chiron also opposes the ascendant, and he would have had the south. He would have the ecliptic points right going through the second and first house. Okay, so his ascendant is affected in this story because he also has Mars, which is transiting his house of relationships, opposing his ascendant. Mars is trouble and strife. Cut, severing ties. There's like cut, severing tie endings going on here. Saturn restricts, it blocks, it puts a stop onto things. This is the ninth house. This is legalities in the law and accountability, right? With Saturn and Neptune being here together in the ninth house. Okay. And so the eclipse sets up a chain of events for him because it will be going over his. It's conjunct by degree, not by house, to his sun. Right, the sun is your life force, your energy, tied into eighth house matters. Right, he would have already had the eclipses going through the North Node going through the North Node going through the eighth house already, because the North Node has been sitting in Pisces for over the last 18 months. So for the last 18 months, the sun, right, and the North Node has been going over his eighth house, right? The eighth house is all to do with sex. It's all to do with taboo. It's all to do with secrets being revealed. So what has the eclipses done over the last 2 years? The eclipses in his eighth house have exposed him. They've exposed what's been going on, what he's been up to, right? His underhanded stuff, his secret affairs. The eighth house is your secret affairs, right? That's all been going on. Not only that, his 12, as soon as the secret affairs are hidden shit, I looked at his 12th house, and the 12th house is the hidden house, right? He has an exalted Jupiter transiting his 12th house, right? Transiting his 12th house, okay? That means Jupiter expands wherever it touches, for good or for worse, right? Yes, Jupiter is the benefic, but also Jupiter will expand wherever it touches, right? Whether that be good or bad, it can bring you loads of money. It can make you spend loads of money. It can make you. It can bring you loads of abundance. It can make you it'll expand wherever it is. And so for him, it's expanding his 12th house, the hidden house of secrets. All of his secret stuff that he's been doing is being expanded upon and exposed. The 12th house is the enemies too, and so Jupiter is expanding his enemies, right, and bringing them to life and bringing them to the public as well, very public. You know what I mean? And so, as I say that, you look at his birth chart, right, and he has the Taurus in the 10th house. And the 10th house is your public persona, okay? And right now, Uranus, the planet of shock, is going through his 10th house of his public persona. Uranus brings unexpected shock, plot twists and events. And especially right now, Uranus is like woke up from its retrograde, it's going direct again. And it's about to leave his 10th house to go into his 11th house. So it's on the cusp, right? And it's on its analytical degree. So this is when we have shock endings. So Uranus is like shaking up his public persona, his image, right? Uranus can be weird. Like if you're into weird shit, Uranus will be like the indicator for that. It's in Taurus. Taurus rules pleasure. The things that you do for pleasure. Uranus is like a kink. Where is Venus? He has Venus in Capricorn, right? And for him, Capricorn rules his 6th house, right? And so this is all to do with like ill health. In ancient astrology, the 6th house is like people that you employed, okay, with money. So the people that he employed, I'm using the word employed very loosely to catch my drift. Um, his 10th house ruler is in the 6th house, right? It's kind of like not in a great aspect. It's conjunct Mars. Mars is sex, passion. It is malefic. It's like bad energy. It can be linked to SA, especially with Venus there as well. It can be. I do find. I'm not gonna lie. Venus in Capricorn. Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, is one of the signs which love things like role play, 50 Shades type stuff. To put it mildly, I'm trying to be coded, like get my channel blocked, coded, right? So like 50 Shades kind of stuff, but like times 100 in the 6th house, right? Saturn is already here, so he has like Saturn in his rulership. Saturn also rules his 7th house, okay? And so there's already a pain point here because his relationships are a pain point because Saturn is here, blocks. When you have Saturn, so he has, how can I put this? Saturn usually brings, especially because it's in the same house as Venus, and they're in a loose conjunction, I want to say, right? Very loose conjunction. They're like conjunct by house, right? They're not conjunct by degree. So they're in the same house, they know each other, or they're under the same rulership, right? And it can bring like age gap liaisons. Okay. Let's put it at that. All right. And then so when he was rested, the eclipses activated his sun, activated his pain point, his Chiron, all right? And he is having an 8th house perfected year, and the ruler of his 8th house is Saturn, right? No, it's not. What am I talking about? The ruler of his 8th house is Jupiter because he's Pisces. Okay, where is Pisces? Pisces is his 12th house. Sorry, Pisces is sitting in his 12th house. The transiting Pisces. The 12th house rules imprisonment. Okay, and so yeah, he's having an 8th house year. His sun is already in the 8th house already. Okay. The ruler of his 8th house is Jupiter. Jupiter is transiting his 12th house. The 12th house rules imprisonment. His natal Jupiter. Let's have a look. Where is his natal Jupiter? His natal Jupiter is in Sagittarius at 22 degrees, the critical kill or be killed, alive or unalive degree. So that in itself is quite telling, isn't it? And so for him, he has he has his natal Jupiter in the 5th house, which is the house of sex. Okay, at 22 degrees. Yeah, in Sagittarius, a sign which is known for liking it quite rough. I'm just going to put it at that. At 22 degrees, 22 degrees is the alive or unalived degree. Okay, making a sextile to Chiron, to his deepest wounds in relationships. Okay, so also sextiling his north and south node, squaring his south node, sextiling his north node, right? And this is like, his Jupiter is aspecting his north node, like an insatiable. Because remember we talked about the intro. Wherever you have Rahu in the north node, is an insatiable appetite because the dragon's head can't be satisfied. Wherever you have north nodes where you're constantly you're looking for to be fulfilled, and that's what it's to do with your life force. You know what I mean? It's why you're here, what you put on. But like in Vedic astrology, actually, north node is like your ego and your downfall as well. So it's like, okay, the north node, Sextile in Jupiter, Jupiter in the house of sex and fun, right? North node in Virgo. In that 2nd house, it's like insatiable appetite, you know what I mean? The ruler of his. Okay, let's have a look at this. So, the ruler of his 12th house is Cancer, which is the moon, right? And the moon is in his 4th house in Scorpio. So he's a Scorpio moon. So Scorpio moons can be very private. They can be very hidden with what they do, and it's in the hidden part of the house. So it's like what goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. And this is why he's always been very protected by family, because the moon is in the 4th house. And the moon is in the 4th. The moon likes to be in the fourth house. It rules the fourth house. The fourth house rules family, and the moon rules your family too. So it's like, the family very protective and have protected him. Will that continue? Probably. Probably in a roundabout way, but just know that the eclipse cycle just started. We're going to have a Virgo eclipse going on, and that's going to activate his second and eighth house, activating his own nodes as well of fate and destiny. So there's going to be more revelations coming on because his nodes are sitting in his eighth house of sex, of secrets. Okay, and so over the next 18 months, this story, which started, the story's been going on for a long time, right? But it's obviously being brought to light now with the eclipses in his first and seventh house because he's in Aquarius. North Node, as all the eclipses, and especially because they're literally by degree hitting all his personal planets, being brought to light. Mercury rules children. He does have Mercury in the eighth house as well, which is tied in to do with the taboo topics which I just mentioned. So I'm not saying that everybody has Mercury in the eighth house has that trait. Of course not. But we're talking with somebody who is living out the absolute most darkest shadow part of his chart. So when you look at a birth chart, you can have the most shadow part and the most light part. And most of us will probably, usually live out, the in between and, the most positive aspects of it. There could be some negative traits, like we might play out, but we very rarely come across people who will live out the absolute darkest part of their chart, and like this person right in front of us, which is what's a really good example to look at their birth chart, right? So, yeah, Mercury in the eighth house does not mean that everyone will be tarred in the same brush at all. All right? I like to see Mercury in the eighth house, people who are really great with reading tarot, astrology, psychic placement as well. Especially in Pisces too. Mercury in Pisces, great psychics. But in this birth chart particularly, Mercury, they say, is in detriment. So his detriment, Mercury, is making a sextile to Saturn, sixth house. So you can see here, this wound where Saturn denies and blocks and hides, his sexual desires and stuff. What else? What else should we say about this terrible person? Let's have a look. But yeah, so as far as I was saying about perfected years, having a perfected year 66, and that highlights the eighth house. So when you look at your perfected year, you want to look at what age you are, and that'll tell you what perfected year you're having. And so if you're having a eighth house year, you want to look at your eighth house ruler. First of all, what rules your eighth house? In this instance, it's Pisces. So Piscean themes are going to be the key. Where is the ruler of Pisces in your birth chart? Have a look where that is, and for him, like we said, it's in the fifth house, which rules sex, dating, fun, children. Yeah. And then the transiting Jupiter is in the 12th house, which again rules downfall. It rules imprisonment. So this already makes up a whole story. I mean, we've only just started. He's only just starting his perfected year, and already the story is really playing out. So I thought it was a really good, interesting one to have a quick look at, and just to have a quick dip into astrology, looking at what's going on around us, and to see how these play out. I just wanted to have a quick look at, because if you look at his friends, the friends and his associates, that is to do with your third house and 11th house. And so his third house is ruled by Libra. Okay. And Libra is ruled by Venus. And he has Venus in the sixth house in Capricorn. And Venus in Capricorn, these are influential people with lots of money. Okay. There can be people who are older than they can be like older than you, or like younger than you, people that you surround yourself with, right? And the other order of his friendship I would look at would be the 11th house Gemini, and again Mercury, right? And so where is his Mercury? His Mercury's in the 8th house, the hidden house, right? So his friends are like underhand, do hidden shit, they're involved with like the occult. They're involved with like illegal things. This is Mercury in the eighth house. Okay, tied in with his second house as well, because Virgo, the other ruler of Mercury, the other sign Mercury rules, sorry, is the ruler of his second house where the eclipses are happening. And so his friendship group are really powerful, influential people who have a lot of power, a lot of control, a lot of money, who do underhanded shit. And he's involved with that because his son is also in the eighth house in the same sign. How incredibly and telling is astrology when you look at it as simple as that. How crazy. If you like the video and want more of it, I would love it if you'd like, subscribe, and share this channel. And of course, if you want a personal reading with me, I'll leave all the information in the show notes for you to do so. Thank you so much.